Surprise, motherfucker.
Yes, sir. We're officially back at it. Boog Nice coming at you with the Marvel Legends Fantastic Four Super SKrull Build-A-Figure Wave Dr. Doom figure review. Let's do it.
This ain't for no scalper. You a scalper? Then fuck out shit. This one's for them real collectors. That's army building and posing figures. Marvel Legends, imports, mini matey, I'm fucking with them. Hype beast, we know about you. Stay buying figs, don't know about it.
6 figures in a wave. You're going to need all 6 figures to complete the Super SKrull Build-A-Figure. And a quick look at the artwork on the side of the box. You can see a picture of Dr. Doom. I really like that art. Same thing on both sides. Let's get this bad boy open, see what's what. Alright, here we go. Taking a close look at Dr. Doom, who I actually already looked at in a full overview of this wave. But I want to give him his own singular video just to kind of chop it up with you guys for a moment. You know, I've been toggling with trying to figure out the settings and stuff like that here. So I'm really just doing a second or third kind of dry run, figuring out the perfect settings for me to record reviews and what have you. So shout out to my man Mike Odom, aka Odom Productions here on YouTube. He had hit me up last week and showed me a little tutorial about the Canon T6, and he was giving me some little pointers. And shout out to my man Pendelos Murtos for making this review possible. He got me the full Fantastic Four wave and got me an extra Dr. Doom too. So thank you to you guys. Thank you to anybody who watched the original overview already. And yeah, let's take a close look at Dr. Doom. Doom's bio on the back of the package reads, Victor Von Doom uses his incredible intelligence and mystical abilities to oppose the Fantastic Four. So an amazing job here from Hasbro. This is Hasbro's second Dr. Doom figure. Their first one came during the Return of Marvel Legends era. I'll be breaking him out shortly because I actually didn't do any comparisons in the overview, just to give you an idea of the stark contrast between the two and how much better Hasbro did on this newer version. Definitely going to be one of my top picks of 2020. I'm making that early prediction now. Everything here through and through looks really good. I will say that I think they did a good job with the paint applications, but you know, a little dry brush and a little more detail wouldn't hurt. So I know that there's a lot of people out there getting 2 and 3 of these, not only to do Doom bots maybe, but to just kind of do their own custom paint job. But out of the package, he came with actually one open hand that had the trigger finger extended on the right arm, and then one open hand with the fingers slightly spread on the left. But I had already swapped out the 2 fists, so that's great that he does come with a couple of interchangeable hands. And I removed the gun from his holster. This is a working holster. I'll let you see those other 2 hands though. But there's a look at that. Like I mentioned in the overview, his finger is there and the trigger guard and the trigger groove. And you can see both hands swapped on here. There was no issue swapping out the hands. It was fairly easy. I assume if you have some other hands that you might want to paint up to look like Dr. Doom's kind of armored up gloved hands, then you could for some more options. But I'm okay with what they gave us here. Not bad at all. And there he is with the gun holstered back on his side. Kind of pointless for Dr. Doom to have a gun, as he does have power features within the armor, and he is also a magic wielder. I also want to take this opportunity just to give you guys a chance to comment below and tell me some of your favorite Dr. Doom moments from comics history. You know, I always like to kind of dive into some of the comics history or some of the characters' history in the comic books when I do these reviews. So one of my favorite things probably in more recent times was during the Dark Reign era, when Loki was kind of manipulating Norman Osborn and Doom and just playing his game with the villains during that time. And Dr. Doom had invited Loki to his castle, and he was trying to test to make sure Loki was the real Loki, as he was the female version of Loki at that time. And he was putting him through a bunch of series of tests to see if he could survive. He tried to poison him. He tried to burn him. It was just a real ill sort of like interaction between Doom and Loki, and their banter was really cool and funny. So I think that was in Dark Reign Cabal #1, if I'm not mistaken. Something you should check out if you haven't. But anyway, taking a closer look at the details and the deco here. Again, classic look for Dr. Doom. He isn't one that has changed up his look too much. I did mention in any other review that I think we will get Dr. Doom in his white outfit from Secret Wars, the more recent Secret Wars, where he was God Doom. So I think they will repurpose this and give us a Dr. Doom in all white, similar to what they did with the Return of Marvel Legends Dr. Doom. But as you can see, this definitely looks like an armor. I think they did a good job here with all of the little rivets and everything. And you can actually see where the armor gets strapped on here, these little straps and stuff like that. And they did go to distance and give us a different color on the straps, which is great. But the armor looks great through and through. You can see little peg holes at the bottom there. And I showed this before too, but he's got the little rocket boosters on the back. And obviously, if you want to take this head off and swap out the cloak for a cloth cloak, you can. And aside from this head sculpt, which I think is a more modern look, I keep doing this. I keep popping out the entire head and neck, which is not necessary. One sec. He's also packed in with this more classic looking head sculpt, which I think was great that they included both. And you can see how those vary. You can see that the eye holes, if you will, are a little larger on the more classic version. And it's a little more enclosed on the more modern version. So I do like that a lot. And then just taking a close look at his articulation. So the head and neck are actually separate. The neck moves down here at this joint where it meets the upper chest, as you saw. But the head can move independently of the neck, left to right. You get a little swivel. He can look down a bit. And he can look up. You know, it's going to be hindered a little bit by the hood and cloak, but decent range of motion on the head and neck. Shoulders are on a ball joint, not hindered at all by the cloak because it is draped over the back of the shoulder there, so that's good. You can do a full 360. Decent range on the shoulder. Upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbow. You do get a swivel and a hinge on the wrist. I think this wrist will probably hinge up and down. Yes, so same thing on both sides as far as the arms go, but just the wrist articulation is a little different. You can turn him at the waist, and he does get a little bit of ab crunch going forward and back there. So that's cool. The belt is a separate part. Everything is through and through here to the bottom, so you can see that he has like a T-joint there at the pelvis. So you do get the full range of motion there. Obviously, it's hindered when the loincloth here is down a little bit, but that's fine. You do get an upper thigh swivel, I think, in here. Let's see. Yes, this one is just a little tight, but the left one is turning. I might have to put a little hot water, but you can see that it does swivel there. He does have a double jointed knee. There is a hinge and a pivot on the foot. No toe joint, but decent articulation for Dr. Doom. And then taking a look at the old Return of Marvel Legends Dr. Doom here on the left and the newer Dr. Doom here on the right. And you can see how much of an improvement this newer version is on the older one. I mean, we're looking at a toy here and an action figure right here. You know, everything is different. The articulation scheme on this one was so weird, and he was just hindered by the cloak. I will say one thing that was cool about the older version was that you could actually take the cloak off and you could remove the faceplate from his helmet. That would have been a nice feature for this newer one. Not absolutely necessary. I guess if you really just wanted to have him with his with the head off and the hood off and just do like a custom head or something like that, you could. Or maybe even remove this one, which needs quite a bit of paint to actually match up with the aesthetic of the newer version. But this was one thing that they could have added to really just put the nail in the coffin on this one. But there's no question that the newer version is light years ahead of the older one. So this is one time where I got to give it to them. You know, I always kind of measure Hasbro's progress with how much better they've done than anything they've done in the past. If they've completely shit on and trashed a Toy Biz figure, then great. But if they actually made an improvement on one figure that they did, Hasbro did, then I give them even more props. So much respect for a new and improved, very good looking Dr. Doom.
Crispy.